Well, it sounds like you're moving forward in in fact, all areas, and especially the one with empowering women. That is one that is lagging in several countries, but not in Cape Verde. It's moving forward very nicely. One of the others is sustainable development. And we all are talking about sustainable development. Of course, inherent in sustainable development is climate change. Many scientists think this is the #1 problem affecting the world. Everybody is affected by the climate. Have you noticed a change in the climate? Are there climatic conditions that are changing in Cape Verde? And what are you doing to help reverse that trend? Everybody seems to be confronting it in some way, shape, or form, but is that the case in Cape Verde?
You know, climate change is a very serious situation and very serious matter. We, since the beginning of in Cape Verde, we didn't wait till we have all this situation of climate change. We began because our country was facing the drought and the desertification. So we began in '75, in fact, planting trees and making a lot of effort in agriculture. Unfortunately, in our country, only 10% of the land is cultivable. So we try to manage to increase this part, and at this moment we are making a lot of effort to develop photovoltaics and aeolics machineries to reduce our consumption of fuel energy and to increase the renewable energy. And I can tell you that we install already some plants in the major islands, and at this moment we think that we are going to reduce for 25% the consumption of, we are going to have an installation, 25% of our energy will be renewable in 2025. And we think that 50% will be in 2050. And at this moment we are trying to reach the goal of having one island 100% with renewable energy. This is our contribution. And we think that with this serious work on our climate, we are trying to not only to face our difficulties and challenge in this area, but also to give a contribution to diminish and to decrease the pollution in the atmosphere. Although we are not a very big polluter, but we think that everybody, every country, every state should do the same. That means to do the maximum to decrease the pollution in the air. Because, as you know, if we don't do the maximum, or if we delay too much the time to take decisions on climate change, some of the small islands are going to disappear because they have a little, they are only even not 1 meter above the sea, and the sea level is rising. So we think, and I'm thinking at this moment mostly on the Pacific islands that are threatened directly in their life and in their livelihoods, you know, by climate change. So climate change is very serious, not only for those who are confronting this situation, but for the others that think they are not affected, or they are not directly or immediately affected. Because climate change poses a problem of solidarity. We cannot think that we are going to deal with climate change without the idea of solidarity with those who are confronted at this moment with the end of history. And at this moment we have almost 250,000 of climate change refugees. It will increase in the future. And if I think about what is going on in the Arab world and all the consequences, we have to deal, the government of the world have to deal seriously with climate change. Because if we delay too much, it is not only these small islands of Pacific who are going to be affected directly, but also all the other countries, and even the big countries who are the most polluters. So climate change is really the main, or one of the main challenges of all the world, and not only for the little countries.
And once the glaciers are gone, once the ice packs are gone, once the coral reefs are ruined,
Absolutely.
you can't reverse that. And if you
This is
did,
it.
it would take an ice age that would be horrific. So
Absolutely.
you're absolutely right.
And you know, even we take decision now, at the moment we are talking, it will be a time of inertia for the climate to reverse. So it is very urgent for everybody to take decision, because everybody know what is going on and knows the danger of climate change. And we have to take decisions and not to let the things going, and we think we are not going to be, you know, the weather is going to be more and more extreme, more and more in this time. It will be more events and affecting all the world. We saw it in 2010 with Pakistan and
the flooding,
Indonesia,
terrible
the floodings,
flooding, yes,
and so on and
yes.
so on. And the tsunamis and the hurricanes, they are increasing, and their impact are more intense, yes, for everybody.
Intense,
So I think that we should not wait too much before the end of history of these countries, because when these countries are going to be affected, we also, any part of the world, we are going to be affected. I take very seriously this matter, because I think that it affects our humanity, because if we are not able to be solidary with these countries, what are we going to say and to do?
Mm-hmm.
This is it.
Earlier you mentioned, and you're quite right, everybody has a role to play. Cape Verde is a small country, small population in comparison to China or India, but you still have a very important role to play. You are very active at the United Nations. What are some of the other major issues that are of interest to you at the United Nations, and what role has Cape Verde played as a country in the Group of 77 or in some of the other bodies at the United Nations to lend a hand, because it sounds like you're doing a lot of great things in Cape Verde and elsewhere around the world. But what are some of your other issues, and who are some of the other groups that you interact with at the United Nations?
Well, you know, we are part of the Group of 77 plus China, and we are part also to the ECOWAS group of countries.
ECOWAS
is Western countries, economic, how do you say that? Economic Council for the
Western Africa.
Yes,
okay,
Western Africa.
Right.
So it is very important for us to have stability there. We want to contribute for all the countries in West Africa and all the continent, of course, but our neighbors, to live in stability. And at this moment we have, unfortunately, due to the traffic of drug, due to the international criminal organizations, we have some countries that are very fragile because of their situation, and they are exposed to this kind of threats and challenges. So we try to give a hand to all these countries in contact with UNODC, in contact the organization that struggle against drug trafficking.
Nations Office for Drug Control.
Yes, drug control, and we try to be of some help for the other countries, because it is also for our interest. It's not only because we want stability, but in our sub-region, because this is what internationally is very correct. But it is also of the interest of Cape Verde not to receive from one day to another a lot of refugees that could come because of a conflict or because of event that can push the people in our country. And we had this in the past, and it is difficult for a teeny country like Cape Verde to receive a lot of people at the same time. So we are trying to preserve our stability, but at the same time to work for all of us to have stability and to have tranquility, because it is our common interest. So the main, one of the main matter in this, in my agenda is drug trafficking. It's also stability and peace in Africa, and I talk a lot about this in the different commission of the UN, and of course the development, sustainable development for our countries, because it is with this resolution of these problems that we are going to preserve Africa, preserve the peace, and preserve our country. And when I talk about solidarity, it is really because we need it as a major and strategic value for our stability and peace in the sub-region.
You're absolutely right. That is so important. We need to focus on these problems such as climate change or whatever the others may be, like a laser beam, to try to overcome them or at least reverse these problems. One term that we hear a lot about is ICT, Information Communication and Technology. Yes. You mentioned earlier some of the really unique things you're doing. You're trying to get one of the 10 islands to be totally independent, sustainable, have alternative energy forms, photovoltaic forms or something like that. What have you seen? Are there any other, I know there are a lot of other things probably going on in information and communication and technology area in Cape Verde that are going on there, and have you seen some other things happening around the world that you think are really great ideas and are very promising as far as helping us to deal with these problems such as poverty or illiteracy or whatever the case might be?
Yes, yes. You know, ICT is very important for Cape Verde. From the beginning, we bet on this sector. And at this moment, we have an organization that we call NOSI, which is the main organ of the government to improve the ICT and to develop it in all the island. And as you know, we are archipelago. So we have to connect all these islands, and it is a matter not only of new technology, but of fundamentally of development. Because when you reach the situation of or the level to take advantage of the images and the capacity for you to play with internet and so on, and when the children at school have the possibility to enter in internet, this is the future. This is the future. So we have at this moment, in partnership with Microsoft, for example, and other partners in Africa and in the world, we are developing this capacity to not only to serve our country, but also to be an example to serve other countries that are not at the same level of development in the ICT like Cape Verde. So we bet on ICT. We try to make the maximum with this sector because we think that it is the future. And it will help also the education. If we have all the children at school and we are developing this to have for each child one computer at school and the professors, I think that we will make a big saut en avant, like they say in French, for this sector in Cape Verde.
Lunge forward. You're absolutely right. Well, let me ask you in closing, you're doing some exciting things in Cape Verde. There are many positive things happening. We don't hear about them, though. What role do you think the media, I know the Cape Verde media probably focuses more on them, but what role is there for international media, U.S. media, and South-South News to help get the word out about some of the positive things you're doing in Cape Verde and what people are doing in other countries, too?
You know, unfortunately for us, we are a little country, but we have the obstacle of the language also. You know, our official language is Portuguese. And Portuguese-speaking countries in Africa, for example, are only 5. And we are the only one in the West Africa. The others are mainly French-speaking people or English-speaking people. And even in South-South, you develop a lot of things with English. If I was not talking English, I don't know how we are going to, to entertain ourselves. But, you know, it is a very important issue because we know that other countries, they know that because there are data of the Bretton Woods organisms, the United Nations make their data also every year. So they can know, those who want to know what is going on in Cape Verde know. But at the main divulgation of the information for the society or the people, there is not too much. I think that South-South News can develop this if you try also to develop the things in Portuguese for us to be understand and translate this, you know, because even in our country, we don't receive often the English information, or they go only to those who know English, and there are a few. And so I think that South News could do a good job if they could make the diffusion of our information on Cape Verde to the English-speaking countries, to the French-speaking countries, for us to be well known and to be better recognized. Because sometimes I personally, as ambassador to the United Nations, I think that we are not sufficiently recognized as a country that can be I don't say model, but an example in some areas. We don't want to be focused as the guys who are much talking and don't do a lot. No, we want to be recognized by what we are doing, and that can be examples not only for the continent but for the world also.
Well, Ambassador Antonio Lima, Permanent Representative from Cape Verde to the United Nations, I want to thank you for a very interesting program.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'm Bill Miller. Thank you for joining us on South News.